morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. And of course this video is actually part 2 of last week's video, so make sure you go back and watch that one first before we start this one off. The last video did great, by the way. Thank you guys so very much for the support on that one, and if you're new to the channel, welcome, glad to have you here. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already as we march ever closer towards 120k. Anyhow, that's enough introductions, back to the list. In Unova, I struggle to find any place as epic or meaningful as Route 10, the final route prior to the Pokemon League in Black and White 1. Now, I was going to start this off by saying Unova has the best final route of any region, and then I realized the bar for that is actually remarkably low. Regardless, from the moment you step foot on this route, the somber yet empowering music lets you know that this is the final path. One that not only leads you to your goal at the Pokemon League, but also towards the climactic confrontation with N. I particularly love the send-off that your rivals Sharon and Bianca give you towards the end of the route, accepting that the truth of this situation is not very ideal, or something like that. Yeah, heavy stuff! The geography of the route isn't anything amazing. In fact, I'd say the winner of that category goes to Unova's other final route, Route 23 in Black 2 and White 2. But it's serviceable enough, and I appreciate that this route offers a decent amount of brand new Pokemon this late in the adventure, like Rufflet, Vullaby, and Bouffalant. And technically the badge check gates are a part of this area as well, so you know I gotta talk about those. I think having each area of the gates modeled after every gym you fought was a great touch, and I love they add an extra instrument for every gate you pass through, building up to the epic Victory Road theme awaiting you at the end. This downright embarrasses the badge check gates from the sequels and the Kalos region. And the Victory Road's not too shabby itself. And the League is cool too. And so is N's Castle. Okay, actually maybe Unova's best area is just the last 2 hours of the game. It's all really good. But sadly, if we rewind the clock a little bit, we gotta slog through an area that's not quite as fun. Celestial Tower. I feel like the only reason this place exists is because Skyla was one of the only gym leaders not involved in the Team Plasma plot and they needed to show her off outside of her gym in some way. Celestial Tower is less of a stairway to heaven and more of a portal to hell in my opinion. There are only 2 encounterable Pokemon here, Litwick and LGM, and in the sequels they only add Golbat to that list. Regardless of which game you're playing, this place is always overflowing with trainers, because battling on an ancient burial ground totally isn't insensitive or anything. This area really feels like a waste of 30 minutes more than anything. It's just a slog, plain and simple. The only neat thing is that there's a weird glitch where you can press the B button and make all the trainers turn at the same time, so you might be able to dodge some battles, or maybe it's not a glitch and you're actually just controlling their souls. Regardless, it's kinda funky. In Black 2 and White 2, there's literally no reason to come here during the main story other than grinding purposes. Mesprit does show up here during the post-game, but considering how much other content Black 2 and White 2's post-game has to offer, even that feels relatively underwhelming. For the Kalos region, we're doing something that hasn't been done before and going with a city, specifically Lima City. Now I know a ton of people hated this place when the games first came out because it was incredibly hard to navigate, the camera's all wonky and zoomed in on you and just feels generally awkward, and there was a massive glitch on release where if you saved anywhere out on the main streets, your game would be completely unplayable when you booted it back up, basically forcing you to delete your save data. Other than all that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? But in spite of all the early setbacks, I think I really grew to love Lima City. It just feels like the most alive location, not just in Kalos, but in the Pokemon world in general. The massive scale definitely helps with that feeling, but so do the little things, like people getting lost in back alleys and battling you out of rage, taxi drivers battling you if you don't have enough money to pay for your ride, little cafes and emporiums all over the city where fanatics gather to discuss their favorite things, like Pokeballs or Evolution Stones, and don't even get me started on trying to get into the fanciest boutique in the region where you can spend $500,000 on a pair of pants just to flex on the boys. You can even take up a job working at a hotel. It's like playing Persona on the 3DS, but worse. And the more you do around the city, the more you level up your style and the more perks and other activities you unlock. It's literally a game within a game just to 100% Lima City. Let's be real, if you're playing Pokemon X and Y for any extensive amount of time, there's not a lot to do, so you may as well soak up everything Lima City has to offer. But just across the northwest gate lies Route 13. No, not the terrible Kanto one we discussed last time, the terrible Kalos one we're discussing this time. Now, the first 15 seconds you'll spend here actually aren't so bad. The idea of a wide open red dirt plain is a unique concept for a route that hasn't been done before, and it gets a few points just for that. But past that, it's really just not that interesting of an area. It's pretty much just a big box without any trainers aside from a singular Team Flare Grunt, and only 3 wild Pokemon that move very erratically and can be very difficult to avoid. 80% of the time you'll be encountering either Dugtrio or Trapinch, who most likely have Arena Trap, which is incredibly annoying, and the other 20% of the time you'll be finding Gible, which, if I'm gonna be real, isn't the coolest way in the world to find a Pokemon that evolves into a pseudo-legendary. Like, remember the Kanto Safari Zone where you had to fish for Dratini, and the Wayward Cave where you had to find a secret entrance to get Gible? Yeah, I really just don't like how easy they make it in this game. It feels like I did nothing to earn this encounter. And to make dodging these little suckers even worse, sometimes there's just a random gust of wind that makes it particularly hard to move to either the left or right, and nearly impossible to roller skate, forcing you to use the D-pad, which just feels really awkward for a 3D Pokemon game that's mostly off the grid. This area is also infamous for teasing us with these locked power plant doors that were never opened, including a steam power plant that many assume would be relevant to a Volcania event that also never happened. More than anything, it's just sad to stroll through this area and feel the missed potential lingering in the air. Alola's best area, in my opinion, is Po Town. It's a gloomy, hopeless area surrounded by a huge Attack on Titan style wall that really stands out against the otherwise colorful and cheerful Alola region. The town serves as an insight to the crappy lives that Team Skull have willingly chosen to live. More than anything, I really like how this area balances its somber, depressing tone with some remarkably funny Team Skull interactions, like the team charging you a measly 10 Pokédollars to heal up in the Pokemon Center, 2 grunts breaking the fourth wall to address that both of their real names are in fact Grunt, and a grunt mistaking you for Guzma if you sit in his throne. Exploring this area just makes you feel sorry for Team Skull more than anything, and I think it's a great way to show more aspects of their character rather than just telling you. There aren't any overworld puzzles here that are incredibly interesting, but I do like the little riddle that they make you clear before facing Guzma. The area is Team Skull from head to toe, and you know what? In this case, it's not such a bad thing. Like Kalos before, the theme of Alola's worst areas is once again missed potential. First up is Wella Volcano Park. I was so excited to explore another volcanic area with some really cool caves and geography. Instead, you just walk inside this tunnel and it teleports you to the top of the volcano. What an absolute letdown. This could have been the coolest area in Alola if they actually let you explore the interior of the volcano, and instead, it's just a glorified elevator ride. Plus, the actual fire trial is a meme. I feel like the actual climb to the top of the volcano should have been a little more difficult to make up for it. And they even had a chance to rectify this in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon by just adding an interior area, but no, apparently adding this little tunnel area was much more important to them. But I think even more disappointing than Wella Volcano is another literal elevator ride at Megalo Tower. Megalo Tower and Ultra Megalopolis were the most hyped up new areas leading into Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and they just ended up being another straight hallway back like Ultra Space was in regular Sun and Moon. If you make a mistake and don't correct it, that is a second mistake. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of a quote from a better Pokemon game. Even after defeating Necrozma, the area doesn't open up at all, and there's no reason to ever come back. We're talking about a city in an alternate dimension where literal alien people and Pokemon live. How did they manage to make this so boring? I wasn't expecting it to be Distortion World levels of good, but this is just embarrassing. In the Galar region, the best area is... In the Crown Tundra, the best area is this southern part consisting of Balamere Lake and Dynatree Hill. Now, I'll be real, I think the Crown Tundra in general has far better designed areas than mainland Galar, but this section in particular I found to be full of that old school Pokemon charm. It's one of the only areas in the game that nobody tells you to visit. You just find it on your own and the discoveries keep rolling. When you first enter the area, there's a great cutscene where you encounter the Galarian forms of the legendary birds and begin pursuing them across Galar. Then you can shake the big tree and fight against a level 90 Dynamax Greedent. This thing is literally stronger than any legendary in any game before it. There's also a small grave where you can encounter Spiritomb if you've spoken to enough trainers in the Crown Tundra, harkening back to the original method of fighting Spiritomb in Diamond and Pearl. And once you've caught all the Swords of Justice, you can sit down on a tiny island and make Curry to attract Keldeo and battle it, making it one of the only mythical Pokemon that you can catch outside of an event. There's so many neat secrets buried in this little area, and it probably has the least amount of hand-holding in the game. It's incredibly refreshing after several generations of Game Freak feeling like the overprotective parent that's constantly gripping the steering wheel and not letting you think for yourself. If future Pokemon areas are anything like Balamere Lake, then I'm excited. But I won't be excited if the general route design doesn't also improve. The Galar region's worst area, or areas I should say, is the routes. All of them! Except you, Route 2. I actually kinda like the little lake that you could bike across and find some cool stuff. You're exempt from this. The other 9 of you, I'll see you in my office. The worst offender, though, is the game's final route, Route 10, which may as well be the complete opposite of the Route 10 we started this video with. I figured if this was the only region without a victory road, they would at least make the final route interesting, but hoo boy was I wrong. Route 10 is a mostly straight hallway leading back to Winden. Even the Pokemon selection is unusually poor here, since the rest of Galar's routes at least have some good variety to them. Here the Pokemon are all the same ones that you could have caught on the previous 2 routes, which were also covered in snow, or just anywhere in the wild area whenever it snows. The only truly new Pokemon here are Stonjourner and Eiscue, which are not nearly good enough to justify their insanely low 2% encounter rate. The only cool thing about this route is that the first time you cross over the hill to see Winden, the snow stops, the music rises, and a flock of Corvisquire soar by, making the entrance to the city feel somewhat grand, but this only happens once and then never again. Other than that very small detail, it's as dry as a route can get and is underwhelming even by Galar's incredibly low standards. And with that, we've successfully gone over each and every region. I hope you all enjoyed the ride. If you did, make sure to subscribe. We have a ton of other cool stuff coming up relatively soon. And as always, make sure you leave a like down below. I'll see you guys next time.